Ladies and gentlemen, our program will begin in a few minutes. Please find your seats. Once again, our program will begin momentarily. Please take your seats. Ladies and gentlemen, please find your seats. Our program will begin momentarily. Ladies and gentlemen, please find your seats as our program will begin shortly. Ladies and gentlemen, our program is about to begin. Please find your seats. Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats at this time. Once again, please find your seat, and our program will begin. Ladies and gentlemen, our program will begin momentarily. Please take your seat. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, please rise and please welcome Michelle Brooks Thompson to sing our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watch were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' riot glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Jim Brett, President and Chief Executive Officer of the New England Council.
Thank you. As I look around the room tonight, I'm thinking that maybe the fire marshal of this great city should be a New Englander of the Year for allowing so many of our New England Council friends to gather here tonight. It's estimated some 2,000 have come by, have stayed, and will enjoy the evening. But before I give some opening remarks, I would like to introduce the Chief Executive Officer of this great city of ours, the capital city of New England. And she was gracious enough when we sent the invitation that she said, I will be there. And she is here tonight to give greetings on behalf of the wonderful city of Boston. Please give it up to the Honorable Michelle Wu, our mayor.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you first and foremost to Jim for all that you have done to make sure that our region continues to shine and that the foundation that we've laid for many years past really is sustaining us in this very challenging moment for the economy and for our recovery. I'm so honored to be able to have a little bit of a chance to serve and to continue that work. I want to thank everyone here for your connection, your service, all that you do to keep Boston and Greater Boston going. In this room, the New England Council and the companies and organizations that you represent, there is no collection of talent, heart, and commitment to a region's success similar to this anywhere across the country. I will put us up against anyone because as I look around table by table, those who are serving and contributing every day as major employers in our city are also, in the same breath, always raising your hand to say, how do we help the Boston Public Schools? How do we ensure that we are investing in affordable housing, in climate, in making our city the most competitive in every possible way it can be, and the most welcoming and inclusive in every way it could possibly be? So I want to thank you all for building an amazing ecosystem that we continue to lean on. We have the chance to do something really special here in Boston and New England, which is to show the entire world what happens when we really invest in all the sectors of our community, in the business community, in our schools and the public sector, in the nonprofit sector. And when we are all on the same page here in Boston, as we've seen in the past, we can do remarkable things together. And I'm very grateful to you all that we have the chance to do that in this very important moment. So thank you for your leadership. Congratulations to all of tonight's honorees. There's some incredible stories to come from folks that I've had the chance to chat with already. And thank you for all that you do. I'm very, very grateful to serve as your mayor.
I would also like to just give a quick shout out to a very good friend of mine who 50 years ago today was elevated to become a member of the legislature here in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and served for many, many years with honor and distinction. And that is my good friend, W. Paul White. Congratulations, Paul, for all that you have done. Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the New England Council's 2022nd annual celebration. And Michelle, that was amazing, absolutely amazing rendition of our national anthem. And I must say, you are a very tough act to follow, but congratulations. It has been 3 years since we last celebrated our annual celebration together. In fact, it's been 1,113 days, to be exact. And boy, have we missed all of you. We have a great night tonight in store for you as we continue the tradition of honoring truly extraordinary individuals with our New Englander of the Year Award. A very special thanks to our returning event co-chairs, Dennis Leonard of Delta Dental of Massachusetts, and Becca Gould of American Tower, who who once again have gone above and beyond what we asked and expected and delivered at an historic and record-breaking dinner. And to all of you whose commitment to the New England Council is reflected in your extraordinary support, not just tonight, but throughout the year, I say thank you. Thank you for not only for making tonight so special and successful, but for your steadfast commitment and support through 3 difficult and challenging years. Years that history will record and label as those COVID years. Because of you, and despite the COVID years, the New England Council has never been stronger, never been more vibrant, never been more relevant, and perhaps has never been more needed. There are 2 words I just can't say enough to all of you. Thank you. And tonight, I especially want to thank our very, very generous platinum sponsors and our diamond sponsors, as well as all the other businesses and organizations, over 230 in total, who sponsored this evening's program. And we are truly overwhelmed with gratitude. And we are aware every day of the challenges that we face as a nation and a nation. And I commit to you tonight that we at the Council will continue to work day in and day out to continue to earn your trust and provide you value as we do our part in a time of great economic, social, and political uncertainty to strengthen New England's economy and communities. And with that continued support that you have given us, I know we will succeed. And now, I have the honor of introducing our first presenter who will present the first New Englander of the Year award. And let me just say that our presenter is someone who is a monumental public official who believes in trying to make a difference across the aisle. He spent his career in the United States Congress since 1988, and then assuming one of the most powerful positions, the chairman of the Ways and Means Committee. Someone who has the universal respect in Washington when it's so partisan. If you ever hear the name Richie Neal, people will say, a good, conscientious, steady legislator. And we need more Richie Neals. I am honored to introduce the chairman of the Ways and Means Committee, my good friend, the Honorable Richie Neal.
Let me thank Jim Brett for those kind and undeserved remarks of introduction, but also to profess what all of us in the room find comforting, and that is the professional advocacy of the New England Council. And the size of this crowd tonight is ample testimony to the manner in which the smallest geographic region of our country continues to punch well above its weight in terms of advocacy in a non-partisan fashion. So, Your Honor, Mayor Wu and my friend Governor Baker are amongst those that are here as well. This is a real honor for me tonight, not the least of which is the opportunity to remind the people of Boston, Massachusetts, and New England of the role that international trade plays in the lifeblood and economy of this region. And at a time when globalization is being challenged any and everywhere, we can all say that the future of globalization will not look like it does now, but the idea that somehow it's going to recede would be a miscalculation as well. So it's a real honor to introduce to you tonight the United States Trade Representative, who is the New Englander of the Year. She's a daughter of Connecticut, but she is a standout performer internationally every single day. It's not that long ago that Katherine Tai was a member of my staff at the Ways and Means Committee, and tonight she is a member of Joe Biden's cabinet. That tells you about the ratio of success that she's had based upon sheer competence and diligence. She's knowledgeable, she's tenacious, and it's that combination of expertise and character that has brought her, and listen to this if you can, at a time when we don't agree in Washington on where the sun rises and where the sun sets, Katherine Tai was unanimously confirmed by the United States Senate. The work that she's done is evident to the world. She has driven economic growth in a creative manner. And while at the Ways and Means Committee, it was her work behind the scenes that led us to the successful conclusion of the largest international trade agreement in the history of the world. When the former president said he was going to take us out of NAFTA, Speaker Pelosi said we cannot abrogate an international trade agreement without the ridicule that would accompany it from the rest of the world. For months, day after day, in a small room in the Capitol, Katherine Tai and I led the negotiations, by the way, with the Republican trade rep at the time, who we befriended. The result was, and I hope you can listen to this when people say it's hard to get anything done. So on this remarkable trade agreement, in the end, 195 Democrats voted for a trade agreement, and 194 Republicans voted for the same trade agreement. If you know anything about trade, if you walk into a Democratic caucus to talk about trade, you usually have to go through metal detectors. That's the nature of the challenge. But Katherine Tai did the day-to-day negotiations, and I hope that we'll look at Kenya and European Union as we go forward for trade opportunities for our state. She has demonstrated that she knows how to manage these agreements. In fact, with USMCA replacing NAFTA, endorsed by the AFL-CIO and the Teamsters Union. What a pleasure it is for me to welcome to the stage one of my all-time favorite people and staff member and ambassador, member of the President's Cabinet, Katherine Tai.
Well, thank you so much, Chairman Neal, for that very kind introduction. It is an honor to be here with all of you tonight and to receive this award. And thanks to the Council for inviting me and for hosting this incredible event as I'm just looking out at a sea of people bathed in the light of green. I feel like this really speaks New England to me. I had the privilege of working for Chairman Neal for many years when I was his chief trade counsel on the House Ways and Means Committee. And it was a true honor to work for the chairman, Speaker Pelosi, and the working group they appointed to renegotiate the USMCA in 2019. I will never forget watching the vote tally go up on the wall from the House floor on December 19th of that year, as 385 members of the House of Representatives voted to pass the most pro-worker trade agreement the United States has concluded in our history. You know, Chairman Neal voted against the original NAFTA almost 30 years ago because it wasn't a good deal for Massachusetts and New England. So when the responsibility to renegotiate the USMCA came to him, he made sure that it would significantly improve on the old agreement for the workers and businesses in this region. And it is a special honor to receive this award this evening because my story also begins in New England. My parents came to the United States in the 1960s, and since I'm in Massachusetts, I might as well tell you that it was because of President Kennedy's immigration reforms in the 1960s that my parents were able to come. They came to pursue graduate degrees in the sciences in Massachusetts and in Connecticut. They met and got married here in New England, and I was born at the Yale New Haven Hospital as the first American in my family. Although we moved to the greater Washington, D.C. area when I was 2, I came back to New England to endure, or rather, to embrace 7 frigid winters through college and law school. I was born in New England, and I also became an adult in New England. I learned to write, read, and think critically here while sharing picnics on the banks of Walden Pond, eating my way through Boston's North End and New Haven's Worcester Square, and attending my first pop music concert ever to see the Indigo Girls perform in Lowell. I'm a big fan too. During law school, I also volunteered as a mediator at a small claims court near Boston. And I think I learned everything about dispute settlement there, which has really come in handy in my career as a trade lawyer. All that to say, New England has a special place in my heart. And New England is also the heart of America's history as a nation born from trade. This region was founded on commerce and flourished because of the transformative power that comes from the movement of goods, people, and ideas. But New England also has a history of asking the tough questions on the human impacts of trade, including through New England's role in the abolitionist movement and its experience as an early American industrial region that has experienced its share of deindustrialization over time. From my first day on the job as U.S. Trade Representative, I've been working to ask the tough questions about where U.S. trade policy has taken us and how we pursue new approaches to do trade better and simply to do better by our citizens. What we need is trade policy that raises the tide for more Americans, makes our supply chains more resilient, mitigates the crisis from a warming planet, places the livelihoods and opportunities of our workers front and center. And I have great partners in this endeavor, people like Chairman Neal and Boston's own Secretary of Labor, Marty Walsh. These values are at the core of our work on trade right now, whether it's the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework, the Trade and Technology Council with the European Union, or the Strategic Trade and Investment Partnership with Kenya. My priority is to partner strategically with other countries to rebuild confidence in the global economy, yes, but also to rebuild confidence in the fairness of the global economy. New England is rich in history and also rich in talent. I was here in Boston almost exactly a year ago and spoke at an event hosted by the New England Council and the University of Massachusetts. I visited New Hampshire just this past August. The people that I meet on these trips, small business owners, workers, students, they remind me of why I do what I do. Their resilience and their dreams fuel my resolve to work as hard as I possibly can. We need that same spirit as we write the next chapter on trade. And it's the spirit that's embodied by so many of the past honorees of this award, like Congresswoman Rosa DeLauro and USAID Administrator Sam Power. It is a great honor to be among you tonight, and an even greater honor to be considered one of you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Honorable Joseph Kennedy to the stage.
I'm not Joe Kennedy. And can I just take a moment? We have the ambassador here. She came all the way from Europe. She's worked on a major, major trade initiative involving electric vehicles. It was a very tedious process for her, but she persisted, and she kept her commitment to the New England Council. And she said, I'll be there in Boston. And the least that all of us can do is when she speaks, or anyone speaks, to lower the volume and show respect. We're here to honor New Englanders of the Year.
Hi. I'm so glad Jim went first. I had a different introduction, but I think I'm just going to leave it at that. Briefly, in all seriousness, I just want to say how grateful I am, although not a member of the New England Council, that Jim has been at its helm, stewarding this organization the way that he has. Jim, thank you, my friend, truly. And ladies and gentlemen, it is my distinct honor this evening to introduce my friend and yours, Andrew Dreyfus, the semi-retiring president, the CEO of Blue Cross Blue Shield of Massachusetts. Andrew, I think, as some of you know, not only fancies himself a Renaissance man, but he actually is one. He is the only CEO of a multi-billion-dollar company that began his career as a modern dance critic for the Boston Herald. How many of you knew the Boston Herald had a modern dance critic? In fact, when Blue Cross considers its coverage plans, he was so in the weeds that he was the guy that they turned to offer the detailed knowledge about the damage a dancer might do to their hamstrings when pulling a move choreographed by Twyla Tharp or Mark Morris. And he is the only one that I know who got his start in the field of holding insurers accountable. And that was as an able assistant to Phil Johnston when Phil was running the Department of Health and Human Services for Governor Dukakis. Since then, Andrew has been in the center of every major healthcare movement of a generation. From incremental expansions of coverage, to combating the opioid crisis, to expanding mental health care, and addressing health inequities. It has been a long career of standing up to big challenges, but Andrew has always been a big picture player. As the founder of the Blue Cross Blue Shield Foundation, he helped design a roadmap to universal coverage, which led to the nation's first universal coverage law signed in 2006 by Governor Mitt Romney. You can applaud for that? Absolutely. And as this room knows, that law became the blueprint for the Affordable Care Act signed into law by President Obama. That is a bipartisan validation that has only become more astonishing in the past decade. Andrew introduced value-based payments that reward clinicians for providing higher quality care and better outcomes than a traditional fee-for-service model. He led efforts to address long-term care needs by establishing the Coalition for Serious Illness Care, with the mission of ensuring health care meets its goals, values, and the needs of patients at all stages of life. He helped found the Schwartz Center to set compassion at the heart of healthcare. And he focused on diversity long before it became in vogue. More than half the members of the Blue Cross Blue Shield board are women and people of color. Andrew took bold moves during the pandemic, paying more than $590 million for testing and treatment with no out-of-pocket costs to their members. And starting next year, Blue Cross will be the first insurer in New England to incorporate health equity performance into their payment models. The legacy of care and comfort that Andrew leaves behind is simply extraordinary. So I started by mentioning that he was a Renaissance man. I want to end by quoting one of his favorite poets, Theodore Rothke. I wake to sleep and take my waking slow. I feel my fate in what I cannot fear. I learn by going where I have to go. As an innovative CEO, Andrew awakened every day, unafraid of the challenges ahead. He has stepped forward, always the head of the pack, and learned, as the poet says, by going where he has to go. Under a code that he lives by, you can always be sure that that destination is guided not by random choice, but by a moral compass. Because his North Star is what is always the right thing to do. So where to next? Unfortunately for Blue Cross and all of us, that's into retirement. But we know that he will continue to fight the good fight while leading the foundation. And we know that Andrew certainly wouldn't have it any other way. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in recognizing, honoring, and thanking Andrew Dreyfus for a lifetime of service.
Thank you, Joe, for those kind words. And I want to congratulate my fellow honorees. What a privilege to be with you tonight. Thank you, New England Council, for this honor. Jim Brett, your wisdom and compassion makes us all better. And now I also know you have quite a voice when you need it. And a special thank you to my Blue Cross colleagues over here. You have inspired me with your dedication and brilliance and empathy for the past 2 decades. Gatherings here this evening for this award feels especially meaningful. The New England Council brings people together, connecting us to support our economy and communities and embracing our diversity. At a time when the country is so divided, the New England Council unites us. When I look around this room, I see many people who may vote differently than I will tomorrow. And yet, we are proud to call each other friends and colleagues. We share a commitment to the people and communities of New England. I received an education in that kind of commitment from my father, Carl Dreyfus. Carl was the co-owner of a property and casualty insurance agency in Boston. This was in an era when people of color could not get financing or insurance to fund and protect their homes and businesses. But my father crossed those red lines and was known to be one of the few, if not the only, downtown Boston agency that sold coverage to businesses and homeowners in Roxbury, Dorchester, and Mattapan. And while he was involved in the civil rights movement and other community causes outside of work, he saw no distinction between his business goals and his advocacy for racial equality. Today, we might call that doing well by doing good, or the double bottom line. He just called it his job. I've always tried to honor my father's values in my own work, which, as Joe said, has been dedicated to high quality, affordable, and equitable health care for all, one of the great social justice causes of our time. When we need medical care, we are at our most vulnerable. It's when, in some ways, we're most aware of our common humanity. And that connection helps us build a case for big change. I'm proud that Blue Cross was at the forefront of the coalition that made Massachusetts the first and still the only state in the country with near universal health coverage. The first state where health care is a right, not a privilege. Now, this was a major achievement, but the story of how we got there may be even more important. The truth is, it took us years. Many of us in this room tried multiple times and failed to reach consensus. That may actually be putting it politely. Anyone who has spent time in New England knows we don't hold back from speaking our minds. But those were not wasted years. We built trust. We found common ground. In the end, we set aside self-interest in favor of community interest. Those are important lessons today, because our work in healthcare is unfinished. While we've made progress, there's much more to do. As in our work on universal coverage, the challenge of creating a more affordable and equitable healthcare system is beyond the reach of any one organization. It requires the work of everyone in this room: employers, labor, clinicians, policymakers, faith leaders, patients, all of us. That's the only way to create big change, especially during difficult times. Now, tomorrow we're likely to see an even more divided country. But let's not lose our spirit of collaboration and trust here in New England. Let's continue to work together and make our region a model for the rest of the country. In yesterday's New York Times, Farrah Stockman wrote about a new idealistic movement to invest in pluralism in America. She cited the work of an early 20th century Jewish philosopher, Horace Kalin, who argued that, and I quote, "the freedom to be different but still participate in political life as a vital part of the whole, that's the key to our country's genius." Callan believed that America was best described not as a melting pot where everyone turns into the same bland stew, but as an orchestra where distinct sounds join harmoniously. I believe in our uniquely New England orchestra, and I look forward to the music we will continue to compose together. Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome John Heiler, Chairman of the New England Council and Chairman of Diffractive Managers Group.
Well, welcome everyone. I will tell you, it's the first time I've been up at one of these things in over 2 years, so it's pretty amazing to see the group, the people, the activity. It's just absolutely wonderful. And what a room. A capacity crowd of leaders from business, academia, government, healthcare, nonprofits, who are collectively the engine that drives New England's economy. I especially wanted to recognize Congressman Neal, Mayor Wu. It gives you an idea of the importance the New England Council plays to our local economies. We are here tonight in record numbers, and for that we need to thank Jim Brett and his entire staff. While our communities and the economy shut down during the worst of COVID, Jim and team worked tirelessly. He kept us connected, informed and engaged in an unprecedented circumstance. Jim, thank you. Thank you very much. And tonight, to put something together like this takes a lot of work, a lot of team, but there's a couple of people I do want to mention. Larry Zabar and Pauline Spikas. Awesome job. I really don't know how you guys do it with the staff that you have, but every year it gets bigger and it gets better. And again, thank you. So you're here in record numbers right now, and I think it's for two reasons. First, to honor an extraordinary group of individuals who are receiving the New Englander of the Year award. Second, it's to support the New England Council, an organization whose work becomes more important every year. By focusing on issues, not personalities, on solutions, not criticism, the New England Council has served as a model for the nation to achieve real and meaningful results. And I think what best exemplifies this is the governors of New England. They've been a great example, and tonight we're going to recognize one in particular, the governor of Massachusetts, Charlie Baker. I mention his name, he gets applause. Okay. Governor, your annual attendance here, and I don't know how many years you've come here, has shown the importance that you attach to the regional and bipartisan efforts of the New England Council. The work that you do to help us solve some of the challenges that face New England. And you've helped us in the role that it plays, not only here, but in Washington and across the country. I remember during one of your State of the Commonwealth addresses, you quoted Ted Lasso. And so the mustache is not from the show. It's a very wise move to quote Ted, Charlie, so I think it's a great show. So I thought I'd do the same tonight because I think what you've done over the last few years has been pretty remarkable. But Ted Lasso has this quote, and he says, "Taking on a challenge is a lot like riding horses, isn't it? If you're comfortable while you're doing it, you're probably doing it wrong." And so with that, I want to talk One of the great challenges in our country today is taking this leadership role. It's like riding the horse. And it's going to be difficult, it's going to be challenging. In a national climate that has been often hostile to the pragmatism that has defined our New England region, even our way of life for generations. Charlie's leadership is inclusive, respectful, collaborative, traits that have become increasingly rare across our political landscape. There is a reason Charlie is consistently ranked the most popular governor in the United States. And these simple principles were not rare in recent years. They need not be rare in the future. It is my hope, and I know it's yours as well, that Charlie's leadership in Massachusetts, as well as organizations like the New England Council, will show the country that real political leadership can still succeed. Because no matter our differing opinions on policy and on issues, everyone in this room agrees that the point of governing is to improve the lives of every single person in the Commonwealth, throughout New England, and throughout this country. And that's why Charlie ran for governor. It's how he governed for 8 years, and most importantly, it defines who he is as a person. It is my pleasure and honor to introduce the man we all consider a good friend, Governor Charlie Baker.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. I hardly know where to go. Let me first of all start that I always wondered why the Omni Hotel was constructed here in the Commonwealth. And now I know. The New England Council needed a bigger room to hold its annual meeting. Congratulations, Jim, to you and the entire organization for the pragmatic, open-minded, bipartisan approach you take to getting things done. And I just have to say one thing about that. If you look around New England and you look at the classic measure that all of us in public life use to determine what people are thinking, it's the right track, wrong track measure. There's one region of the country where the right track outperforms the wrong track. That would be in New England. Now, varies a lot from state to state, but the bottom line is the approach that people take in this region to each other and to their work shows. And I know I speak for many of us who serve in public life in New England, because I spend a lot of time talking to my colleagues about this, that we are so grateful and so lucky that we get to play in a region where people actually do treat each other with respect, work hard for each other, and work on behalf of their friends, their neighbors, and their communities. It is different here. I promise you it is. And speaking of which, can we give a hand to all the servers that are working this place? It is so great to see you and so great to be here to celebrate New England. But tonight, I actually have a different responsibility, which is to introduce the next award presentation, which goes to the CEO of the Boston Globe, Linda Pizzuti Henry. Now, I have to admit that when the folks at the New England Council called and asked if I would be interested in doing this, my first thought was, what a sense of humor. having the guy who's on the receiving end of all that stuff that comes from the media have a chance to stand up and say all kinds of nice things about the driver of the train. I said yes, and I said yes for a lot of reasons. One of the reasons is pretty simple. It's hard for me to imagine a business that is harder to succeed with in this day and age than to be a mid-size, regional news, traditional news organization. I want you to think about that for a minute. Over the course of the past 10 or 15 years, everything associated with how we gather, collect, produce, distribute, read, and absorb news and information has changed. Everything. And that put an unbelievable amount of pressure on every organization that was part of what I would call the traditional media. And yet here we are today, and the Boston Globe is as relevant to what's happening, what people are talking about, what people are thinking about, what people are doing, as it's ever been. And that's because this is important. And that's because Linda and the people at the Globe embraced the future and created a whole series of business models and distribution capabilities and skills and expertise that made it unique among many of its peers. How many of you know the online newsletter STAT? Quick show of hands. Applause, a little applause, okay? Those of you who don't, you should subscribe. And the reason I say that is there was probably, this would be debatable, but it was easily one of the most important sources for news and information during the pandemic, before there was a pandemic, through the pandemic, and coming out of the pandemic. STAT was an idea, a companion piece to some extent to the Globe Enterprises, which Linda and her team started. The theory was pretty simple. We're in Boston. We're the center of the life science community anywhere in the world. We should get really smart about it and be one of the leading and most important voices in covering what's going on in the life science space. I can tell you point blank that as a guy who spent an enormous amount of time trying to find data and information that I could work with and believe from the beginning of the pandemic and all the way through, STAT was an enormously important resource. And that wasn't just me, that was true for many other people who had to make lots of decisions about how to deal with something where the field of information, the data points, what you knew, what you believed, were constantly changing. And STAT was a source of incredibly important information, and most of the time, they were ahead of almost everybody else who was reporting on this stuff. Now, I know that's not called public service because it's a private organization operating an online news generation organization, but it was a public service for many people, not just me, but many people across the country, and certainly here in Massachusetts. Secondly, Hub Week, a great opportunity that Linda started to gather together all sorts of the brightest and best minds to talk about, among other things, the next generation of big ideas that were emanating from many of the great organizations, great universities, great think tanks, and other great organizations around the region. In this day and age, where so much of what passes for social media is really mostly just about snark, and so much of it is. It's critically important that news organizations believe in being smart and looking forward and making major contributions to the discussions of the issues of the day. Many have been pulled in by the sort of siren call of just swinging from the heels and worrying later about whether or not what you're talking about is something you actually understand, or whether you're contributing anything to a positive debate about what we know and what we don't and what we need to learn. The North Star under Linda's leadership at the Globe has been to matter, but most importantly, to speak what I would describe as truth about complex issues at a point in time when too many people take everything to its bottom and most simplistic level and are really just trying to win. News isn't about winning, it's about distribution and commitment. And I gotta tell you, once again, I'm glad I live here in New England, and especially in Massachusetts, because news here matters, and the job that Linda and her team have done to ensure that Globe continues to play a major role in this community is a real gift to all of us, not just here in Massachusetts, but across the region. Linda Pizzuti Henry, another New Englander of the Year.
Thank you so much, Governor Baker, for the introduction and the really kind words about the work of the Boston Globe. News organizations and governors are not put on this earth to be best friends, and I'm pretty sure your staff in particular would never accuse us of being that. But that said, let me say something that our reporters really can't, which is thank you. Thank you for everything that you brought to this job. Thank you for what you have done for Massachusetts. You have guided this state through unimaginable circumstances against the backdrop of the most divided politics our nation has known in generations. Every decision you made affected lives and livelihoods, and you had the full faith of the people you serve. Much is made in your introduction about your 74% approval rating, the highest in the nation. But it's what you did to earn it that matters the most. So thank you. So thank you. It's very humbling to me, and I have some family here, and they're all very, very honored that you are presenting me with this prestigious award. Thank you, Governor, and thank you to the New England Council. Thanks as well to our hosts this evening, Becca and Dennis. It's been a few years since this celebration was held in person, and this evening is a shining example of all the good that can come from bringing together the truly incredible and persistent people in this region. Oops, my earring fell. A special thanks as well to Jim Brett, who serves as the New England Council President, there you are, President and CEO, as well as the true heartbeat of this organization. I appreciate the work that you do with this institution. The New England Council's work, it's smart, it's focused, and thus it's really truly an impact for our region. They're convening a wider range of leaders. So many of you are here today from all 6 states to discuss the most pressing issues facing our communities and advocating for help to help our region thrive, and this helps all of us. I also want to congratulate my fellow New Englander of the Year award winners. They are all exceptional. Community leaders as well as business and industry leaders. And I'm honored to be in your company this evening to celebrate the strength of New England. It's not hard to work with the New England Council and even just look around this room tonight and realize how New England, this region, has such outsized influence in our nation. It's why the Boston Globe has been so intentional in being a news organization, not only for the Boston region, but for much of New England. We are a people unlike any other America. We're filled with quirks. We hold grudges. We have creativity, we are industriousness, and a unique sense of pride. My work over the past 9 years already at the Globe has given me a front row seat to the changes, to the successes, the hardships, and the innovations coming out of this region. Given my view, I can tell you that we are uniquely poised for even more greatness, breakthroughs, and growth, and especially if we work together like we are here, coming together in this room. So tomorrow, as Andrew talked about, is like the Super Bowl for news organizations, Election Day. You've been hearing about how important it is to vote, what's at stake, why it matters. But there's another really crucial act of democracy in our region that you can do each day, which is to subscribe to your local newspaper. There are great ones across New England. There's a lot of research on the importance of this, and one is the Pew Center, and their analysis is, quote, "When a local newspaper dies, evidence shows civic engagement decreases, elected officials are less accountable, corruption is more pervasive, and voter participation drops and becomes more polarized." So subscribing to your local paper is one of the most crucial ways that we can all support our communities. The news industry, as many of you know, and it was mentioned, has been in a state of existential crisis. We're really fortunate at the Boston Globe that we have built a subscriber base that has allowed us to flourish. This community, all of you here, you are supporting us. And in turn, we have been able to invest continuously in expanding and enhancing our journalism. Other news organizations, especially at the local level, are feeling considerable pain. This at a time when the need for local news has never been greater. So for these reasons, the Globe has been using these investments to go deeper into New England. We have built a fantastic and smart bureau in Rhode Island. Our next stop is New Hampshire. We're looking at going deeper into central and western Massachusetts. There are important stories to tell across the region, and it is important that they are told for democracy's sake. So, on behalf of the more than 1,000 people who work at the Boston Globe every day to serve you, to serve our community, thank you for this honor.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Elizabeth Jackson.
Good evening. Can you hear me? Oh, good. I got everyone's attention. I like attention. Pay attention. Thank you. Good evening. I am grateful to be here, and I'm also short, so don't mind me. I'll try to get this microphone ready, okay? I'm grateful to be here tonight, and I'm extremely honored to introduce David Long, Chairman and Chief Executive Officer of Liberty Mutual Insurance, and New Englander of the Year. You can Google him. Many of us know David as an inspirational leader of Liberty Mutual as he guides the company in its mission to help people embrace today and confidently pursue tomorrow. But what sets David apart as a true leader and deserving recipient of the New Englander of the Year award is David's unwavering belief that Liberty's mission does not just apply to the company's customers, but must include everyone in our community. David truly believes that every single person, no matter their ability, where they came from, or their current situation, deserves the opportunity to confidently pursue tomorrow. Under his inspirational leadership at Liberty, listen to these numbers. Are you guys listening? David has improved our community through more than $660 million of total giving. The Liberty Torchbearers and Employee Giving and Service Program has a record number of 75% of employees participation rate, and has supported more than 12,000 nonprofit organizations. Yeah, you should clap to that. The Liberty Mutual Foundation has seen a fourfold increase in charitable giving to an annual distribution of over $50 million. Yeah, you should clap to that too. And again, you can Google this. And while all these numbers are undeniably impressive, what I have always found to be the most inspiring about David's leadership is how he measures true impact, not by the dollar or hours served, but by the lives touched. David truly sees everyone. I'm grateful to call Liberty Mutual a special partner of Bridge Over Troubled Waters, and David a champion of homeless, runaway, and at-risk youth that Bridge serves. Over the years, I have the pleasure of getting to know David. I won't tell him all our secrets, David. No, I know David. Well, I'm privileged to call David a supporter, a mentor, and a friend. I want to tell you, when I first met David a few years ago, during the renovations of our Brighton property, the transitional living program, and our single-parent house in Brighton, I was a bit nervous, like I am right now. But at first, when I heard David was going to visit the project, not only was he one of our biggest investors in this home, but he's also the head of an insurance company. Can you imagine the head of an insurance company coming to your property? Yeah, that's how I was feeling. And I wanted to make sure we were all in compliant. For some reason, I don't know, I thought he had a checklist or something, I don't know. With everything, we had all the safety gears, hard hats, safety goggles, you name it. We did a whole walkthrough to make sure he wouldn't fall on anything, and everything was before his arrival. Now this brother arrives, David arrives, and instead of just visiting the site, he wants to know what he can demo. It's like, oh man. I'm excited to give him a hard hat and gloves. David looked at me and said, I don't need that. Which he promptly tells me he doesn't need, and he moves from room to room, and we start just taking down doors. We start demolition every room and talking, and while we were talking to each other, and I kept asking David about what it means to be a CEO of a company, and I gave him my problems, and he told me his problems, and it was like times 20,000 people. I was like, oh, okay, I can get to this. If he can do it, I can do it. And we talked and talked, and we were talking so much to each other that we took out more doors than we were supposed to. So we were so happy we walked out, and someone went in and says, where's the door to the bathroom? And David and I looked at each other and were like, oops. So we had to put it back. After the project, David wasn't finished helping Bridge Youth, because he never finished helping others. Together, we worked on finding a new home for Bridge Youth ready for independence. And as many of you know, real estate around Boston isn't the easiest. We looked for over nearly 2 years, hoping to find the right home. I was getting outbid by 30, 40, sometimes even 50%. I was getting outbid. In my last offer, I was denied. And I was like, oh man, David calls me. I will never forget that call, David. You said to me, never give up and don't get outbid. I said, what does that mean? Can I do 10 million? Can I do 5 million? Like, what does it mean, don't get outbid? But he believed in us and believed in me as a young CEO that he knew I wasn't going to output too much money out there. And you let me know that if the neighbors were unsure of bridge, that you will come right down and speak to them yourself. And I felt like a lion behind me. I was like, yeah, I got this, David. I'll call David when I need him. They're not going to mess with me. Just tell him that in my face. I don't know if I ever told you that you made me feel so powerful. Thank you. Because of you, David, and your thoughtful leadership, we found the perfect home for homeless youth to feel safe and stable today so they can be confident to pursue tomorrow, just as you have for so many other individuals, children, and families. You never told me what to call it, and I remember said, what can I give this man that he doesn't have? And I said, the house is going to be called Liberty House. Not because he asked, it's because it's the freedom for our young people to move from one side of the bridge to the next one. And I always said to David, thank God it was an Eiffel Act, because that wouldn't work out well. David, I'm privileged to know you, and I'm honored to introduce you tonight. When I got the call, I was like, yeah! What are we doing? To be honest, I was a little nervous, but I'm gonna give you an advice that you gave me when I had to do a speak a long time ago. You said, I don't like speeches either, and I smiled and walked and did my speech. So we do the speaks and the speeches to share what is important. It is important that everyone knows what a great human you are. And I'm glad that we are shining a light on you tonight. I guess the secret's out. Congratulations on this well-deserved New Englander of the Year award, David. Take my speech out the way so you don't read mine.
Well, thank you, Elizabeth. And truth be told, I should be introducing you. For those of you who don't know Elizabeth, and I think you all know it a little bit by now, you should. She's a tenacious and fearless leader who, day in and day out, does the hard work of quite literally saving lives, young lives, lifting up youth who are living on the streets, often hiding from families and systems that have let them down. She leads them to a place of stability, self-esteem, and success on their terms. On behalf of the thousands of young people Bridge serves each year, the underrepresented, the underserved, the invisible, who will be cared for and championed and lifted up. Thank you, Elizabeth. So I also want to thank you, Jim, and members of the New England Council Board for this prestigious honor. I stand with and in admiration of the other winners, the Ambassador, Andrew, Linda, and Willie. So congratulations, I'm honored to be a part of it. And you don't have to work for a 110-year-old company headquartered in Boston to know how important the New England Council is to the vitality of this region's economy, which in turn is critical to the well-being of its residents. The Council advances our region so individuals can provide for themselves and their families, live in safe neighborhoods, access strong educational institutions, and enjoy a best-in-class healthcare system. They help us create an economy that supports the companies that then, in turn, offer their workforce high-quality jobs. And together they advance the nonprofits that are vital to the well-being of our neighbors who are struggling the most. Their top-notch reputation in Washington was born of decades of hard, honest work, and we all benefit. So thank you, Jim. On a personal note, just like Jim, I love New England, though I hail from Old England. Yeah, I do. I talk like this all the time. So in 1979, I headed to the New World on a football scholarship, that would be a soccer scholarship, to attend Hartwick College in upstate New York. And at the time, the unemployment rate in my hometown was over 20%. After graduation, I had a short stint on a professional team. However, reality struck when it was me rather than the ball that got the boot. But lucky for me, I landed a job, now almost 40 years ago, at a little-known Boston-based workers' compensation insurance company, Liberty Mutual, and I've loved it ever since. I love the people I work with. I love our product, a promise that helps people protect the things they've worked for and built and cherish. I love knowing that by succeeding commercially, we can better our communities. I love that we can create an environment where tens of thousands of employees of all backgrounds are continually developing and improving themselves. I love outserving, outpacing, and outgrowing our competitors. In a nutshell, I love being part of a vibrant business community here in New England. So I hold a special place for the New England Council for all it does to make New England the kind of place that helps companies and therefore helps people grow and thrive. And I accept this award on behalf of my 45,000 Liberty Mutual colleagues in 29 countries around the world, with gratitude to the New England Council for the many ways you've made us all individually and collectively stronger. Thank you.
Thank you, David, and congratulations. It is my pleasure to introduce two people who have been integral to the success of tonight's program. Our annual celebration co-chairs have outdone themselves for the second year in a row. They are our MVPs of the New England Council. Please join me in welcoming the co-chairs of tonight's event, Becca Gould, Senior Vice President of Public Affairs at American Tower, and Dennis Leonard, the CEO of Delta Dental of Massachusetts.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Good night. Good night. Oh, I just sounded like John Fetterman. Good evening, everybody. It's great to see you here. This is an incredible crowd, an absolutely incredible crowd. This is what you get when an organization as important, effective, and respected as the New England Council recognizes truly extraordinary individuals. You get a record-setting capacity crowd to honor our New Englanders of the Year and to say a collective thank you to the Council.
That's right. So we're going to have to go up and down. We're a little different in height, but we had one goal here, and you all helped us meet it. So first of all, we just want to thank you all so very much. It really is the generosity of each and every person here that made us such a successful dinner.
And to our outstanding honorees, we congratulate you on the honor you are receiving tonight. And we also thank you for all you have done individually and collectively in your organizations and in your communities to keep New England the best place in the country to live, work, and raise a family. And tonight's honorees follow in the footsteps of some truly remarkable individuals who the Council has honored in recent years. We wanted to take a moment to recognize the extraordinary leaders who were not able to celebrate in person. In 2020, the pandemic forced the Council to hold the annual celebration virtually for the first time. And I think we can all agree that celebrating these incredible honorees was a bright spot during a challenging time for all. So let us recognize Udit Batra, the CEO of Waters Corporation, Marianne Harrison, CEO of John Hancock, Congressman Jim McGovern, Chairman of the House Rules Committee, former UN Ambassador Samantha Power, and life science industry leader Millipore Sigma.
And last year, I was so proud that for the first time in the history of the award, the honorees were all women. Sandy Fenwick, the former CEO of the Boston Children's Hospital. Reshma Kewal Rami, the CEO of Veritex Pharmaceuticals. And Connecticut Congresswoman Rosa DeLore, Chair of the House Appropriations Committee. Thank you all again, and one more round of applause for those who we celebrated virtually.
In the lineup of the most distinguished leaders we honor tonight, and appropriately, on the cusp of our solemn celebration of Veterans Day this coming Friday, it seems only fitting to light our night with another star. Tonight, we bestow our Distinguished Service Award on a man of the military, Lieutenant Colonel Enoch Woody Woodhouse. A serviceman and a man of such remarkable distinction, of such noble and notable character. In the battlefields of both war and life. Truly a man in full. Many of you know Woody is one of the last surviving members of the renowned Tuskegee Airmen. He's the first all-black combat flying unit, which mobilized and flew during World War II. Pilots and planes can break sound barriers. These airmen, they broke racial barriers within the Army. This was not a war easily won. And today, we find it hard to fathom the entrenched injustice that ran through the rank and file of the armed services as recently as 70 years ago. And even upon return from battle, Woody continued to encounter the high hurdles of the color bars on both the playing fields of school and the social communities that kept us a divided, not a united nation. It's a powerful antidote to note that when the black soldiers serving in World War II passed each other, they would flash the V sign. For them, it carried two meanings: victory over the destructive forces of fascism overseas, and the dehumanizing forces of racism in the United States. That such a pernicious class system existed in the United States in times of collective service to democracy is made all the stunning and humbling for me by the kindness conferred back by Woody. Woody shows us what mercy and grace looks like. Woody hails from a family of ministers. And New England can proudly claim him as one of its own. He enlisted in the Army at the tender age of 17, inspired by the call to arms after the attack on Pearl Harbor and Hitler's misguided declaration of war, and with the encouragement of his patriotic parents, he served his country. And his valor was recognized by President Harry Truman, beginning what would become the right and the righteous dismantling of racial segregation within all branches of our military. And later, Woody would further his education at Yale University and then go on to earn his law degree at Boston University. Again, not easily done. Nearly 60 years after Truman ended discrimination in the military, another president, George W. Bush, conferred the Congressional Gold Medal, the highest honor bestowed by the United States Congress on individuals or institutions for distinguished achievements. And to Woody, he received this. We can sometimes be very, very slow learners. And as they say in the military, Woody, from us to you, yes, sir, no, sir, and no excuses, and about time. Most amazing to me, however, is Woody's capacity through all the unreturned salutes and unforgivable indignities to turn the other cheek, to rise above the disgraces shown him, and to put on the mantle of forgiveness and wear the glasses, not so much rose-colored as colorblind, seeing only what is or should be the aspirational best in all of us, regardless of name, ranks, serial number, color of skin, gender, economic status. To this day, Woody, like his father before him, preaches about our shared history, that which unites us, not about that which divides us. His memories are vivid. All those slights and major indignities, unforgettable, of course, but his heart, his mind, his actions demonstrate the powerful effect of forgiveness, and it is disarming. Woody moves on in the slipstream of powerful positive thinking. Actions, not words, as Woody often says, defines him then and now, an inspiration for all generations. It is a great privilege for the New England Council to bestow this Distinguished Service Award, one more in the many rightly awarded and long overdue honors for a man of such distinction and service to not just his race, but to the human race and the country he loves. May the victory tour continue, Woody. We are blessed by your presence here tonight. Congratulations. Okay, Woody.
Sit down, John. Sit down. Jim? Where are you? Okay. You know, from a kid from Roxbury, they grew up in the projects, whose father was a minister. He gave us not money, but education and hard work. And for my father to be supported with a salary of $25 a week for 6 kids. You know, the only thing poorer than a Catholic priest is a black preacher, because he didn't have to take the oath of poverty. It came with the deal. You know, my life has been amazing. In January, I will be 96. So everyone says, Woody, you're 96, you gotta tell me your secret. I say, well, my secret is my secret, I'm not telling you. You know, I have to share just a couple of things, Jim, because this is momentous for me, and I hope momentous for you, because what I'm going to tell you is not on television. And it might help all of us in this period of concern of all of us. So I just have to say that we have to keep on, and the arc of justice always moves to the right. It's hard, but the arc moves to the right. And I just have to tell you this one thing before I close and Jim kicks me off the stage. You know, when I went to Yale, I was the only person of color on the campus. The first person I've called, Paul Knott, I saw him graduation day. I said, what are you doing here at the graduation ceremony? And he said, what are you doing here? Well, I was in humanities, French, German, and mathematics, and he was in pre-med. You know, they're off with the chem labs and all that stuff. The other thing I'd like to share with you is you saw me greeting the governor, because you might know that he has commissioned through Port Authority, Convention Authority, and I tell him I know he had a few objections of having a wall at Terminal C for me. And you saw me jumping over him, greeting him and his wife. And I said, you know, this mural is not about me. You will be remembered for dedicating a mural from a black kid from Roxbury. You didn't grab a John Saltonstall or a resident of the affluent vault known in Boston, but a poor kid that grew up, that worked hard, that had friends. And I have one friend here, and I say this, when you have a friend, you say we're thick as friends, but Jim may thin out on me. Thank you all, and I have to thank all of our corporate sponsors and leaders. And whenever I go, you're from Boston, you run a tight ship, you have good, ethical leaders, CEOs, John Hancock, John Henry, the other CEOs of our wonderful health system. We don't appreciate what we have here in Massachusetts. And we have our health system based on humanity and ethics. I have to close with this. Wherever I speak, White House, wherever, the words are these are the words I live by. This is my secret that I'm sharing with you. Goes like this. You can talk about me all you please, but I'll talk about you on my knees. Thank you.
Love you, brother. Huh? Let's get a picture over here. Walk over here. Get a picture here.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Ray Bork to the stage.
Good evening, everybody. It's great to be here. It's an honor and a privilege to be talking about Willie O'Ree. Woody was sitting at our table tonight, and I tell you, I got a new idol that to look up to. I tell you, amazing, amazing man. And Michelle, the national anthem, you know, I played in Boston for almost 21 years, and it was Rennie Roncourt. he cannot hold a candle to your national anthem tonight. I just felt like going out there and playing a hockey game after that. Well, it is an honor to be part of this evening honoring Willie O'Ree. I know we all wish he could be here tonight. Willie built a legacy that made him a very worthy and deserving of this honor, the New England Council Lifetime Achievement Award. He is a pioneer. In 1958, with the Boston Bruins, breaking the collar barrier in the NHL was truly amazing. Can you imagine that? That moment will never be forgotten. His legacy earned him election into the NHL Hall of Fame, in the Congressional Gold Medal, one of the highest honors you could achieve. He continued his legacy in retirement, being the Director of Youth Development for the NHL and the Ambassador for NHL Diversity Programs. And you served as an inspiration to so many young athletes that paved the way for the opportunity for them to play in the NHL. Please look at the screen to hear from Willie O'Ree.
Hello, New England. Ray, thank you so much for being there tonight and for your very kind words. You know, when the doctor told me he was prohibiting me from flying to Boston, my first thought was, I'm going to get a new doctor. But reason prevailed, and while I'm disappointed I can't be with you in person, I really had no choice but to follow his advice. I'm honored and humbled to receive the New England Council's Lifetime Achievement Award, and I want to thank you for this very special recognition. A few minutes ago, you heard from one of my heroes, Woody Woodhouse, a Tuskegee Airman, a man who displayed courage, determination, and patriotism while fighting for our nation in World War II. Woody, I am honored to share this evening with you and grateful for the sacrifices you made that enabled so many others. Over the past year, I've developed a deep appreciation and respect for the New England Council and the important work you do. In particular, I know that a close relationship has developed between the Council and the National Hockey League, a partnership that will result in accelerating our shared commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. I want to thank you very much for that. It's important to me, to the League, and to those children living in economically undeserved communities who just need a chance. Through the collective efforts of the Council and the NHL, they will now get this chance, and for that, I am forever grateful. Thank you again for this very special award. I'm touched by your generosity and thankfulness. Have a great evening.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back Michelle Brooks Thompson.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with a light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the ocean, white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. While the storm clouds gather far across the sea, let us swear allegiance to a land that's free. Let us all be grateful for a land so fair as we raise our voices and our solemn prayer. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies to the ocean, wide with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home. Thank you.
Wow. Wow. This concludes our program for this evening. I just want to let you know that we had nearly 2,000 people here, in the outer area, at our reception, 14 speakers, 2 magnificent songs, and I believe it's 8:05, which is extraordinary to say the least. I want to congratulate our honorees again tonight. And each year, we also give to each of our honorees an inscribed Chelsea clock to commemorate this evening. And the Chelsea clock is a testament to the important role that manufacturing has played and continues to play here in New England. And we thank them for the generosity. Woody said to me when I gave him his Chelsea clock, he's going to be 96, and he said, I always wished I had a Chelsea clock. Well, he has his Chelsea clock tonight, but we thank Chelsea Clock for generosity. We thank all of you for making this the most successful dinner in the history of the New England Council. And all I can say is, let's do it again next year. And remember to do one thing tomorrow: vote. Thank you very much. Drive safely.